What if achieving wealth wasn't really about fierce competition, but more about a certain way of thinking and maybe a deep understanding of creation itself?
That's a fascinating question, isn't it?
It really is. And it's the premise at the heart of our deep dive today into a genuine classic that's influenced, well, countless success stories.
Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich.
Exactly. Now, this specific edition we're looking at was published fairly recently, September 10th, 2021.
Right, but the work itself is much older, a timeless piece, really.
Absolutely. Originally written by Wallace D. Wattles, who was an American author, a real pioneer in success, writing from the New Thought movement.
Yeah, that movement had some interesting ideas about positive thinking and spiritual principles leading to personal transformation.
And this book, while it isn't just another self-help guide, we think it's essential for you listening to the Deep Seek Diaries because it offers such a profound look into the mindset required for wealth creation.
It really laid the groundwork for a lot of later success guides people might be more familiar with.
Definitely. So if you're seeking to master financial well-being and cultivate a truly transformative mindset, this one is definitely for you. Before we go on, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video. This podcast is known as the Deep Seek Diaries, and you can find us on the major social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Linked in the description section are all the resources in discussion today, including books, websites, and so on. Please go through our terms and conditions as soon as you can. Now sit back and enjoy the podcast. Welcome back.
So we often hear about positive thinking, right? But Wattles talks about this specific certain way of thinking. What exactly makes his approach feel so distinct? Maybe even, dare I say, scientific compared to just general optimism.
That's really the core of it. Wattles draws quite heavily from Hindu philosophies, particularly the idea that one is all and all is one.
Okay.
So when he talks about this, he's taking a pretty deep spiritual concept and turning it into a practical principle. The idea that there's this single, formless, creative stuff everywhere.
Like an underlying substance. Exactly. A formless substance. And his science then becomes the method for your thought to impress upon this substance, to shape it and bring your desires into reality.
So it's more applied metaphysics than just, well, abstract philosophy.
Precisely. The book fundamentally emphasizes that getting rich isn't about competition. It's not about fighting others for limited resources.
Which is a pretty common view.
Right. Instead, he says it's about creation. The core idea is that thought is the creative power. It means focusing intently on abundance, not scarcity.
So it's definitely not just wishing then. It sounds like a very deliberate mental architecture you have to build.
That's a great way to put it. It's very deliberate. What sets Wattles' certain way of thinking apart isn't just being positive. It's a disciplined, almost scientific application of your creative energy.
How so?
It's about mentally forming what you desire with real precision and faith. So much faith that it starts to manifest from this universal formless substance he talks about. And this involves aligning your thoughts and your actions with your goals. Crucially, you have to do this in a way that provides immense value to others.
So there's an ethical component too. It's not just about getting what you want.
Absolutely. It's very different from just trying to outcompete someone else for a limited pie. He's really presenting a methodical, creative process.
That sounds incredibly powerful. Maybe a little abstract for some, though. I mean, does a book that's over a century old still feel accessible today? How's it actually structured?
Well, its conciseness helps a lot with accessibility. It's surprisingly short.
Oh, really? How short?
We're talking only 96 pages in the print length we looked at. So it's a quick read.
96 pages. Wow. That's definitely manageable.
Yeah, it's small enough to be quite portable, almost like a little handbook for some people.
Right.
And while many readers do find it simple to follow and understand, which is a huge strength, you do see comments noting the language. It's written early 20th century style.
Okay, so that could be a hurdle for some.
It can be, yeah. Some find it comes across as a little stilted or maybe even repetitive for a modern reader.
I can see that. Language changes.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's an important nuance because customer reviews show kind of mixed feedback on its ease of reading. But despite those stylistic things, it's still widely hailed as a timeless classic. It's really stood the test of time, being around for over 100 years.
Yeah, and despite some of those stylistic quirks, readers consistently describe the book as superbly insightful, inspiring, and encouraging.
That's a common theme, definitely.
It seems packed with great ideas for achieving more, and some say it even teaches the true meaning of life. which is quite a claim.
It is. People really respond strongly to it.
They call it a game changer, and it's widely seen as like the basis of law of attraction. Really foundational stuff in that whole genre.
Which, raises an important question for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
How can you actually apply this? It's not purely philosophical.
Right. It needs to be practical.
And it tries to be. It provides a kind of roadmap to achieving lasting wealth. It breaks down wealth creation into actionable steps.
Like what sort of steps?
Well, it encourages practices like retaining oneself, which implies a kind of self-mastery.
Just staying focused.
Exactly. Staying focused and disciplined, not letting fleeting desires or distractions pull you away from your clear intention, your creative vision. It also emphasizes keeping an open mind.
That seems key.
And critically, to practice and take action while still being true to your values. It's all geared towards making a conscious shift in thinking.
So it's an internal shift that leads to external results.
That's the idea. And readers consistently note how engaging with this book helps them build a stronger, more positive and imaginable mindset, which, is really key for any kind of sustained success.
I hope you're enjoying the topic so far. Please subscribe to the Deep Seek Diaries and like this video. Don't forget, you can find us on the major social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Linked in the description section are all the resources and discussion today, including books, websites, and so on. Okay, so on one hand, it's this foundational text, a real game changer for many people. But, for listeners who might be a bit skeptical of concepts like manifestation, how does Wattles try to ground these ideas? Or does he lean pretty heavily into the more, let's say, esoteric aspects?
That's a really crucial point, because while Wattles frames it as a science, some readers do find the information not particularly practical.
Oh.
Or they feel it provides very vague information, sometimes leaving them with more questions than concrete answers on exactly how to implement it all.
So principles over step-by-step plans.
Kind of. It gives you the framework, the principles, but maybe not a detailed day-by-day business plan, for instance. And then there's the other aspect you mentioned. Some customers definitely have mixed views on the religious content.
Religious content. In the science of getting rich.
Yeah, they note semi-religious elements. There's advice that includes phrases like, praise the Lord and ask him to give you what you want.
How does that fit with the science aspect?
Well, that can be a point of contention, especially for people looking for a purely secular approach.
Yep.
It definitely creates a bit of tension for some readers.
I can imagine. Given the title, The Science of Getting Rich, including religious advice might seem problematic for a modern secular audience looking for a specific method.
It suggests Wattles saw a strong connection between spiritual faith and the manifestation process he describes. But yeah, for a purely secular reader, it might feel like a detour from a strictly scientific method.
It's a reminder of its origins, I suppose.
Exactly. It came out of the New Thought movement, which often blended spiritual beliefs with self-improvement ideas. You also see some comments suggesting it can be very subjective at times.
Subjective how?
Or even that there's quite a bit of ego talking in certain sections, which really just encourages readers, engage critically, take what resonates, think about what challenges your own beliefs.
Good advice for reading anything, really.
Absolutely. And just on a totally separate practical note, there was one review that mentioned a very specific production issue.
Oh, what was that?
A missing final chapter, chapter 17, in their particular copy. Just blank pages at the end.
Oh, wow. That's not ideal.
No. It seems like a rare printing error for that specific edition, though, rather than a critique of Wattles' actual content. But stay worth noting if you're buying a physical copy.
Good to know. Let's briefly touch on the author himself, Wallace D. Wattles. As we said, American author, pioneer success writer.
Right.
The Science of Getting Rich is definitely his most famous work, but he actually wrote quite a bit, often exploring similar themes related to that New Thought movement.
He was quite prolific in that area.
Yeah, his other books include things like Health Through New Thought and Fasting, The Science of Being Great, The Science of Being Well, Making of the Man Who Can. He even wrote a novel called Hellfire Harrison.
Wow, quite a range.
It is. And his breadth of work across these self-improvement and philosophical topics really does solidify his credibility in this space, He wasn't a one-hit wonder.
No, clearly not. So what does all this mean for you, the potential reader, thinking about picking this up?
Yeah, who is this really for?
Well, the book is truly designed for anyone looking to change their financial situation and develop a positive, success-oriented mindset. That seems to be the core audience.
Makes sense.
It's consistently called a must-read for anyone seeking financial success and a transformative mindset, particularly if you have an interest in manifestation or the law of attraction.
So if those concepts resonate, this is probably a key text.
Definitely. But it's also important to clarify who it might not be the best fit for.
Okay, who's that?
Well, if you're exclusively looking for, say, highly detailed step-by-step financial strategies like specific investment advice or budgeting tools, and you don't want the focus on mindset or philosophical underpinnings.
And this might not hit the mark.
It might not align perfectly with those very specific, purely practical needs. No. It really requires an openness to its unique philosophical framework.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to engage with the certain way of thinking idea.
Right. Now let's talk about the ultimate social proof. What are actual Amazon customers saying? Because the numbers are pretty impressive.
They really are.
The book has a very strong overall rating, 4.4 out of 5 stars. And that's from a lot of people, 9,945 global ratings.
That's significant volume, yeah.
It really is. And breaking that down, an impressive 72% are 5-star reviews. Another 14% are 4-star. That points to overwhelmingly positive sentiment from readers.
A huge majority finding real value there.
Definitely.
And then when you dig into the recurring themes from all that customer feedback, you see some clear patterns emerging.
Like what? What stands out?
Well, on the praise side, readers consistently talk about its surprising clarity, its timeless wisdom, and its inspirational power. Many call it that game changer that's worth far more than its, modest price.
Yeah. For a short book, it seems to pack a punch.
It does. Many found it surprisingly easy to grasp, considering its age. They say things like, it will open your subconscious mind. And it's one of the best on the topic.
Interesting.
And what's particularly striking is how many people actually say it trumps Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, really? That's high praise comparing it to Napoleon Hill. Why do they say that?
Often because they find Waddles more timeless, more direct, maybe more precise in its core message.
Interesting comparison. But it's not all praise, right? There must be criticisms, too.
Absolutely. It's not without its detractors. Common criticisms often circle back to readability. Some find that early 20th century style language a bit stilted.
Like we discussed earlier.
Exactly. Or some even describe certain sections, possibly due to formatting in specific printings, as gibberish substituted, which sounds like a printing error again.
Others found the information itself vague, like we touched on, or they pointed to those semi-religious elements we discussed.
So the feedback generally aligns with what we've been talking about.
It really does. It reinforces the book's core strengths, the mindset shift, the inspiration, while openly acknowledging those areas for consideration, like the language or the spiritual aspects, depending on your individual preferences.
Okay, so wrapping things up. In summary, The Science of Getting Rich seems to offer these really profound insights into wealth creation, but it emphasizes a fundamental mindset shift, doesn't it? Rather than just the mechanics.
That's the key takeaway, I think.
It frames getting wealthy as a creative act, not some competitive struggle, which makes it a foundational, maybe essential text for anyone committed to personal and financial growth.
Especially if you're interested in those principles of manifestation or the law of attraction. It provides that core philosophy.
It really does. And, this raises an important final question for you, the listener, to ponder. Given Waddles' strong emphasis on thought as creative power, think about how this philosophy, despite being over a century old, despite some stylistic quirks, how does it continue to resonate so strongly in modern discussions about success, manifestation, personal development? How might these timeless principles, as people call them, be adapted or reinterpreted for today's, frankly, complex financial landscape, maybe even beyond just monetary wealth?
That's a great point. What does getting rich truly mean to you? Is it just money or something more?
Exactly. Something to think about.
I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of the Deep Seek Diaries. Please don't forget to check out the linked resources in the description section. Hit the subscribe and like buttons as you head off if you haven't already. Until the next episode, goodbye.